Krishna, invocation prayers, please.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'll do.
Go ahead, Mother
Okay,
Chandra.
Chandran Prabhu, carry on.
Mother Chandra auntie, you can go ahead.
Om Jnanatimiram Dashya Jnananjalashalaakaya Satguru Militam Yena Tasma Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Stabinam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatanti Swapatambikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudapadakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sagana Raghunatha Sachiram Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sarvana Laditam Sri Vishankamitam Cha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hariprihe Vanchakalpagarushya Kripa Sindhu Evacha Paditanam Pavaneshyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for responding about the time change. I did not respond to any one of you individually because there have been devotees across this batch as well as the other batches responding. So there was too much of response. So I'm thanking you all here. I will bring up on screen the narrowed down choices of where we stand if we have to change the class times. So it's only 2 devotees from this batch who did not respond. So majority of the devotees picked option A or B, meaning Saturday 12 noon to 1:30 p.m., which will be India time 9:30 to 11 p.m., or Toronto time Saturday 12 noon to 1 p.m., which will be India time Saturday 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. So it's only 2 devotees difference in terms of count. Majority have said option B, that will have a shorter length class. Now, if I choose to switch my Srimad Bhagavatam batch, it will end at 11:30 a.m. Toronto time. So it's possible that we may start at 11:45 a.m. Toronto time. So instead of 1 hour, we can have it for 1 hour, 15 minutes, but we'll see. So I'm just letting you know. And for batch 1 and 2, the narrowed down list is that Fridays 8:30 to 10:30 p.m., which will be early morning for Saturday. Or the other option is Toronto time, early morning 6:30 to 8:30 a.m., which will be India time 4 p.m. So I'm still debating for batch 6 and 7, which times. Again, the votes are close to each other and some have not responded. So for batch 1 and 2, you're this batch. It's only 2 devotees who did not respond. You can please respond. I will give enough notice to before we change the time. So right now we'll continue, and at some point we'll decide and switch over. Any questions, comments, realizations? Chandran Prabhu?
Prabhuji, anytime is convenient to me, Prabhuji.
All right. All right. So today we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapters 15 and 16. These are very straightforward and short chapters. Let's begin with you all explaining one or more striking points and the questions and some inquiries.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So you had asked us to read the purports. So after reading the purports, I just made a few points, which was striking for me. Actual devotees and saintly persons are always anxious to see how to make people happy, both materially and spiritually. And they preach God or Krishna consciousness because they're anxious to save the general population from dangers of animalistic life. When I was reading this, Prabhu, I could immediately relate to ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, all the spiritual masters, how their aim is to, uplift people and how to get them into Krishna consciousness.
Okay, very good. Very good to read and very good correlation and correct correlation. Very good.
Then, Prabhu, one more, another point is that Krishna is the Yagya Purusha, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. He is the ultimate purpose of life and of all sacrifices, and he's the enjoyer of all sacrifices. So in a perfect, I was again relating to Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, the earlier yugas. In a perfect human society, everybody is situated in the orders of Varna and Ashrama and are engaged in worshipping Lord Vishnu by the respective activities. So this is the perfection of life. Without engaging in devotional service, no one can be happy. And then again, correlating presently in Kali Yuga, what is happening? Everyone is more interested in advancing the machinery of sense gratification, becoming more and more entangled, Prabhu.
Very good. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mentioned last class that the points mentioned in those verses are not really happening. Yes, it's the ideal situation that where it should be. So we can try. Yeah, it's not happening in the world. We can try. And even for us, I'm pretty sure at the start, not everything would be possible. So you can just keep trying and keep growing from there. Very good, Mother Chandra Aunty.
Uncle wants to say.
Hare Krishna. How should devotees respond when there is calamities in human society? Prabhuji, my realization, I am narrating now. Calamities arise in human society due to misrule or other causes. Devotees should not be disturbed but accept such difficulties as the Lord's arrangement and opportunities for spiritual advancement. Calamities are not accidental, serves a higher purpose, remind us of our dependence on the Lord. Like Kunti prayed, such moments deepens remembrance of Lord Krishna. So, devotees remain composed and not agitated, but strengthen their devotion through chanting, hearing, and service. They set an example of society by tolerance, faith, and also inspiring others amidst chaos. When they are aware that Krishna is the center of all, they act responsibly, offer guidance, wisdom, and compassion. So respond with faith and not fear. Strengthen sadhana, chanting, prayer, and service. Show compassion and help those who suffer. Maintaining peace of mind become the instrument of the Lord. Devotees respond to calamities with faith, tolerance, compassion, and deeper devotion. Understanding everything happens by the will of the Lord for the ultimate good. This is my understanding, and I submit.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So when calamities happen, that you respond with compassion for the poor people. All right. Rest of you?
The same Prabhuji in the devotee respond with faith, tolerance, and deep understanding. Everything is happening at the will of the Lord.
Yeah.
And they see this opportunity to connect with Krishna more, to try to keep the peace.
All right. Any inquiries? Anybody?
Prabhuji, when I went to 41 words of Canto 4 and chapter 14, I did not get a lot of clues in this, particularly 41. So I went to 40, 38, like that. So I summarized all these things. And what was my understanding? There was no clue in this verse, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so 41 does explain briefly, like it's a short purport there, where it says that Brahmanas are peaceful and impartial to everyone. And if the Brahmanas neglect their spiritual duties of compassion, tolerance, etc., then their spirituality diminishes. Therefore, when there is calamity happening, they cannot remain silent. They have to relieve people from the distress condition. So that's what is explained in 41, and it's bang to the point that that the Brahmanas cannot neglect the poor people, and they have to act in a way to relieve the distress condition of the human society. So it does explain briefly, and your points about going to the other purports, that's also correct. The purports are all one after the other talking about some similar points. Uncle?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Shalini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When I was reading all the purports, Prabhu, so in the earlier yugas, Dwarpa Yuga and Treta Yuga, the Satyuga, so the miseries of existence would be there. The birth, death, old age, and disease would be there. But just that because people are focused in serving and doing devotion service, they won't be the trouble won't be there, Prabhu. Is that correct?
So miseries, the four miseries of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi are common across all yugas, across all universes, across all 8.4 million life forms. What is different now is the effect of Kali Yuga. So whether or not people in Satyug were doing devotional service or not, the effect of Kali Yuga was not there. It's the effect of Kali Yuga that is causing so much distress. And of course, in other yugas, the spirituality was more. So we have discussed that every yuga, the spirituality decreases by 25%. So in Kali Yuga, it's the dual impact that spirituality is down to 25% or less, and simultaneously the negative impact of Kali Yuga, it's that combined effect is what causes so much anxiety and calamity in Kali Yuga. Shalini.
Yes, Prabhu. And the way, people's ability to handle also, no, Prabhu, if those who are surrendered souls, then it doesn't matter which yuga they are in, no, Prabhu.
Yeah, you are correct. So in Kali Yuga also, those who are surrendered, it does not matter. Actually, it says in one of the purport, I can't remember right now where, but it says that those who are surrendered, the effect of Kali Yuga does not impact them.
Thank you, Prabhu.
rest of you? So let's start Canto 4, chapter 15 and 16. So the context or the recap of where we are is that for the good of general public, the sages take an extraordinary step of killing King Vena by mantras because Vena's atrocities became too much out of control. Vena's mother Suniti preserves the dead body of Vena by mantras and special ingredients. And then using special process, the sages churn out the bad part within Vena's body by churning his thighs, and Bahuka is born. And now within the dead body of Vena, only the good part remains. Hence the sages will churn out Prthu Maharaj and Archi from Vena's arms, which we'll discuss in this chapter 15 today. So Prthu Maharaj is an expansion of Vishnu and Archi is an expansion of Lakshmi Devi. So Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi are never separated. So we'll soon read that Prthu Maharaj is Shakti Avesha Avatar. So both these chapters 15 and 16 are short and straightforward chapters, not a lot of purports to read, and even the verses are pretty straightforward. So chapter 15 is titled King Prathu's Appearance and Coronation is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is verses 1 to 10. Appearance of Prthu and Archi. Part 2 is verses 11 to 20. Coronation of Prthu. Part 3 is verses 21 to 26. Prthu Maharaj humbly dissuades the bards. Shivangi has a question.
Abhishek, can you repeat part 3?
Part 3 is verses 21 to 26. Prthu Maharaj humbly dissuades the bards. Bards is B-A-R-D-S, and they are a tribe of people.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Is our dear Aditi able to read chapter 15, verses 1, 2, and 3, translation and purports?
She isn't there, Prabhu. I will read on her behalf.
Go ahead.
Chapter 15, King Prthu's Appearance and Coronation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, thus the Brahmanas and the great sages again churned the 2 arms of King Vena's dead body. As a result, a male and female couple came out of his arms. Text 2. Translation. The great sages were highly learned in Vedic knowledge. When they saw the male and female born of the arms of Vena's body, they were very pleased, for they could understand that the couple was an expansion of the plenary portion of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the method adopted by the great sages and scholars who were learned in Vedic knowledge was perfect. They removed all the reactions of King Vena's sinful activities by seeing that King Vena first gave birth to Bahuka, described in the previous chapter. After King Vena's body was thus purified, a male and female came out of it. And the great sages could understand that this was an expansion of Lord Vishnu. This expansion, of course, was now not Vishnu Tattva, but a specifically empowered expansion of Lord Vishnu known as Avesha. Text 3. The great sages said, the male is the plenary expansion of the power of Lord Vishnu, who maintains the entire universe, and the female is a plenary expansion of the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from the Lord. But the significance of the goddess of fortunes never being separated from the Lord is clearly mentioned herein. People in the material world are very fond of the goddess of fortune, and they want her favor in the form of riches. They should know, however, that the goddess of fortune is inseparable from Lord Vishnu. Materialists should understand that the goddess of fortune should be worshipped along with Lord Vishnu and should not be regarded separately. Materialists seeking the favor of goddess of fortune must worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi together to maintain material opulence. If a materialist follows the policy of Ravana, who wanted to separate Sita from Lord Ramachandra, the process of separation will vanquish him. Those who are very rich and have taken favor of goddess of fortune in this world must engage their money in the service of the Lord. In this way, they can continue in their opulent position without disturbance. Hare Krishna.
So straightforward, what we discussed, that Prthu Maharaj is expansion of Vishnu and Archie is expansion of Lakshmi Devi. And Prthu Maharaj is Shakti Avesha Avatar. Shivangi, verse 4 to 6, translation and purports. Shivangi, unmute.
Prabhuji. Text 4. Of the two, the male will be able to expand the position throughout the world. His name will be Prthu. Indeed, he will be the first among men. Topic. There are different types of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the chapter of Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva and Indra are very powerful incarnations of the family feature of the Lord. He narrates Pati or Indra, the king of heaven, is an incarnation of the lusty feature of the Lord. And Garuda is an incarnation of the Lord now. Similarly, Prthu is an incarnation of the human force of the Lord. That the great is predicted the future activities of Prthu, who was already explained as the partial incarnation of the plenary expansion of the Lord. Text 5. The female has such beautiful teeth and beautiful qualities that she will actually beautify the ornament she wears. Her name will be Archie. In the future, she will accept Prthu as her husband and patience. In the form of King Prthu, the superior personality of Godhead has appeared to a part of his potency which is affected between the worlds. The goddess fortune, the constant companion of the Lord, and therefore she has incarnated partially as Archie to become King Prthu's queen. Purpose. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that whenever one sees an extraordinary power, he should conclude that a specific partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present. There are innumerable such personalities, but not all of them are direct Vishnu Tattva plenary expansions of the Lord. Many living entities are classified among the Shakti Tattvas. Such incarnations, power for specific purposes, are known as Shakti Avesha avatars. King Prthu was such a Shakti Avesha avatar of the Lord. Similarly, Achi, King Prthu's wife, was the Shakti Avesha avatar of the goddess of fortune.
So we read in verses 2, 4, and 6 that what type of expansion is King Prthu. So King Prthu is an expansion of the plenary portion of Vishnu. So he's not at Vishnu Tattva, rather he is specifically empowered expansion of the Lord at Shakti Avesha Avatar. So some examples were given that say Garuda, Lord Shiva, Ananta, they are powerful incarnations of the Brahman feature. Then Indra is incarnation of the lusty feature. Aniruddha for the Lord's mind. Similarly, King Prthu is incarnation for the ruling force of the Lord. And he was given that extraordinary power to rule. And just as King Prthu is Shakti Avesha avatar of the Lord, similarly, Archi, who will go on to become King Prthu's wife, is a Shakti Avesha avatar of the goddess of fortune. Now, verses 7 to 10 describe the jubilation on Prthu Maharaj's appearance. They are straightforward verses. Mother Jija, verses 7 to 10 translations.
Text 7, translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Viduraji, at that time all the Brahmanas highly praised and glorified King Prthu, and the best singers of Gandharva Loka chanted his glories. The inhabitants of Siddha Loka showered flowers, and the beautiful women in the heavenly planets danced in ecstasy. Text 8. Conch shells, bugles, drums, kettle drums vibrated in outer space. Great sages, forefathers, and personalities from the heavenly planets all came to Earth from various planetary systems. Text 10. Lord Brahma, the master of the entire universe, arrived there accompanied by all the demigods and their chiefs. Seeing the lines of Lord Vishnu's palm on King Pruthu's right hand and impressions of lotus flowers on the soles of his feet, Lord Brahma could understand that King Pruthu was a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one whose palm bears the signs of disc as well as other such lines should be considered a partial representation or incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhupada explains in the purport that before accepting someone as an incarnation of God, one should verify his identity according to the symptoms mentioned in the scriptures we just read. And in the previous verse, number 3, we also discussed that how should the goddess of fortune be worshipped? The significance is that goddess of fortune is never separated from the Lord. So people in the material world, they are very fond of wealth, and therefore they are very fond of goddess of fortune, and they want her favor. But they should know that goddess of fortune is inseparable from Lord Vishnu. Materialist should understand that goddess of fortune should be worshipped along with Lord Vishnu and not separately. Materialist or anyone seeking favor from the goddess of fortune must worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi together to maintain their material opulences. Not separate, like what Raman was trying to do, to separate Mother Sati from Lord Ramchandra. Well, that will vanquish your opulences. That's what happened. And those who are rich in the world, they should use their opulences in service of the Lord. Questions, comments, realization so far? Part 2 is verses 11 to 20, coronation of Prthu Maharaj. So these verses are very straightforward, that these sages assemble the paraphernalia for the coronation of Prthu Maharaj, and various personalities offer various gifts to Prthu Maharaj. Shalini, you can read 11 to 20 translations, very straightforward verses.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Text 11. The learned Brahmanas who were very attached to Vedic ritualistic ceremonies then arranged for the king's coronation. People from all directions collected all the different paraphernalia for the ceremony. Thus, everything was complete. Text 12. All the rivers, seas, hills, mountains, serpents, cows, birds, animals, heavenly planets, the earthly planet, and all other living entities collected various presentations according to their ability to offer the king. Text 13. Thus the great King Prthu, exquisitely dressed with garments and ornaments, was coronated and placed on the throne. The king and his wife Archi, who was also exquisitely ornamented, appeared exactly like fire. Text 14. The great sage continued, My dear Vidura, Kuvera presented the great King Prthu with the golden throne. The demigod Varuna presented him with an umbrella that constantly sprayed fine particles of water and was as brilliant as the moon. Text 15. The demigod of air, Vayu, presented King Prthu with two whisks, chamaras, of hair. The king of religion, Dharma, presented him with a flower garland which would expand his fame. The king of heaven, Indra, presented him with a valuable helmet. And the superintendent of death, Yamraj, presented him with a scepter with which to rule the world. Text 16. Lord Brahma presented King Prthu with a protective garment made of spiritual knowledge. Bharati, Saraswati, the wife of Brahma, gave him a transcendental necklace. Lord Vishnu presented him with Sudarshan disc. Lord Vishnu's wife, the goddess of fortune, gave him imperishable opulences. Text 17. Lord Shiva presented him with a sword within a sheath marked with the 10 moons, and his wife, the goddess Durga, presented him with a shield marked with 100 moons. The moon demigod presented him with horses made of nectar, and the demigod Vishwakarma presented him with a very beautiful chariot. Text 18. The demigod of fire, Agni, presented him with a bow made of horns of goats and cows. The sun god presented him with arrows as brilliant as sunshine. The predominating deity of Bhurloka presented him with slippers full of mystic power. The demigods from outer space brought him presentations of flowers again and again. Text 19. The demigods who always travel in outer space gave King Prthu the arts to perform dramas, sing songs, play musical instruments, and disappear at his will. The great sages also offered him infallible blessings. The ocean offered him a conch shell produced from the ocean. Text 20. The seas, mountains, and rivers gave him room to drive his chariot without impediments, and a Suta, Magadha, and a Vandi offered prayers and praises. They all presented themselves before him to perform their respective duties. Hare Krishna.
All right, straightforward verses about coronation and gift giving. Next is part 3, verses 21 to 26. Prthu Maharaj humbly dissuades the bards. So everyone has already recognized that Prthu Maharaj is an incarnation of the Lord. So as the bards and others were praising Prthu Maharaj stops them from praising him, because Prthu Maharaj says that I have not yet displayed the qualities of Supreme Personality of Godhead that you are praising. The qualities of the Supreme Lord will be displayed later. Therefore, you can praise me later. And Prthu Maharaj says that right now, I do not want your words to go in vain. Therefore, right now, you all should offer praise directly to the Supreme Lord and not to a low human like me. Just see the humility of Prthu Maharaj. And then Prthu Maharaj says that the praise is an insult to allow followers to praise now for future qualities. And he says, right now I am just an ordinary human. So all this is display of humility of Prthu Maharaj. So I summarized these points which are there in the purports, and we'll read these verses and purports, and then we will again stop to discuss. Chandran Prabhu, 21 and 22 translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 21. Thus, when the greatly powerful King Prthu, the son of Vena, saw the professionals before him, to congratulate them, he smiled, and with the gravity of the vibrating sounds of clouds, he spoke as follows. Text 22. King Prthu said, O gentle Sutta, Magata, and other devotees offering prayers, the qualities of which you have spoken are not distinct in me. Why then should you praise me for all these qualities when I do not shelter these features? I do not wish for these words meant for me to give in vain, but it is better that they be offered to someone else. Purport. The prayers and praises by the Sutta, Magata, and Vendi are all explain the good godly qualities of Maharaja Prthu. For he was a Sakya Vesha, incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the qualities were not yet manifest, however, King Prthu very humbly asked why the devotees should praise him with such exalted words. He did not want anyone to offer him praise or glorify him unless he possessed the real qualities of which they spoke. The offering of prayers was certainly appropriate, for he was an incarnation of Godhead, but he warned that one should not be accepted as an incarnation of the personality of Godhead without having the godly qualities. At the present moment, there are many so-called incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but these are merely fools and rascals whom people accept as incarnations of God, although they have no godly qualities. King Prthu desired that his real characteristics in the future might justify such words of praise. Although there was no fault in the praise offered, Prthu Maharaja indicated that such prayers should not be offered to an unfit person who pretends to be an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay. Uncle will read 23 and 24 translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Verse 23. O gentle reciters, offer such prayers in due course of time, when the qualities of which you have spoken actually manifest themselves in me. The gentle who offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead do not attribute such qualities to a human being who does not actually have them. Purport. Gentle devotees of Supreme Personality of Godhead know perfectly well who is God and who is not. Non-devotee impersonalists, however, who have no idea what God is and who never offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are always interested in accepting a human being as God and offering such prayers to Him. This is the difference between a devotee and a demon. Demons manufacture their own gods, or a demon himself claims to be God, following the footsteps of Ravana and Hiranyakasipu. Although Prthu Maharaj was factually the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he rejected those praises because the qualities of the Supreme Person were not yet manifest in him. He wanted to stress that one who does not actually possess these qualities should not try to engage his followers and devotees in offering him glory for them, even though these qualities might be manifest in the future. If a man who does not factually possess the attributes of a great personality engages his followers in praising him with the expectations that such attributes will develop in the future, that sort of praise is actually an insult.
The last line in verse 23 purport is very important line. Prthu Maharaj says that if a man who does not factually possess the attributes of a great personality engages his followers in praising him with the expectation that such attributes will develop in future, that sort of praise is actually an insult. All right, uncle, continue, 24.
How could an intelligent man competent enough to possess such exalted qualities allow his followers to praise him if he did not actually have them? Praising a man by saying that he were educated, he might have become a great scholar or great personality is nothing but a process of cheating. A foolish person who agrees to accept such praise does not know that such words simply insulting. Purport. Prthu Maharaja was an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Lord Brahma and other demigods had already testified when they had presented the king with many heavenly gifts, because he had just been coronated. However, he could not manifest his godly qualities in action. Therefore, he was not willing to accept the praise of the devotees. So called incarnations of Godhead should therefore take lessons from the behavior of King Prithu. Demons without godly qualities should not accept false praise from their followers. Text
So why I say that I am something, or I say that somebody should praise me, is because of my ego and because of my bodily concept of life. Okay. Mother Chandra Aunty, 25, 26 translation and purpose. It's only translation. 25, 26 translation only.
Text 25. As persons with a sense of honor and magnanimity does not like to hear about his abominable actions, a person who is very famous and powerful does not like to hear himself praised. 26. Translation. King Prthu continued, my dear devotees, headed by the Sutta, just now I am now very famous for my personal activities because I have not done anything praiseworthy you could glorify. Therefore, how could I engage you in praising my activities exactly like children? Hare Krishna.
So question is, why did Prthu Maharaj's unwillingness, not why did, I'll repeat the question. What did Prthu Maharaj's unwillingness to accept praise indicate? And the answer is described in verse number 22 to 24. That the prayers and praises explain the godly qualities of Prthu Maharaj, for he was Shakti Avisha, incarnation of the Lord. But because the qualities were not yet manifest, therefore King Prthu very humbly asked why the devotees should praise him with such exalted words. Prthu Maharaj did not want anyone to offer him prayers or glorify him unless he possessed the real qualities that these devotees were praising. So the offering of these prayers was certainly appropriate because Prthu Maharaj is an incarnation of God. But Prthu Maharaj is setting a standard that one should not be accepted as an incarnation of God without having the godly qualities. So although Prthu Maharaj is an incarnation of God, but right now he has not manifest the qualities of God. Those qualities will manifest in future. And therefore he says that the prayers should not be offered to an unfit person who pretends to be an incarnation of Lord. So Prthu Maharaj says, I do not wish for these words meant for me to go in vain. Therefore, it is better that you offer these words or these prayers directly to the Supreme Lord. So Prthu Maharaj is rejecting the praise and the prayers, although he is an incarnation of the Lord, but the qualities are not yet manifest in him. Those qualities will be manifested in future. And therefore he is saying, hold your prayers for future, not now. And Prthu Maharaj is stressing that those who don't possess the qualities of the Lord, they should not try to engage his followers and devotees to glorify him. And if a man who does not factually possess the attributes of great personality engages his followers in praising him, well, that sort of praise is actually an insult. And Prthu Maharaj is comparing himself to a low human. And he says these prayers are to be offered to the Lord, not to me, a low human. He says, how can an intelligent man, competent enough to possess such exalted qualities, allow his followers to praise him if he did not actually have those qualities? And Prabhupada gives an example that praising a man, saying that if he were educated, he might have become a great scholar or a great personality, is nothing but a cheating process. Shalini has a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, when we were going through these few verses and purports, I was just thinking about all the so-called, godly people who claim themselves to be God in India, Prabhu. I was just thinking about them. And then how a blind man leading all the followers.
Yeah, very good. This is very much evident in India that there are so many pseudo spiritualists that behind the scene they do so much nonsense. And in front they say that they are God. Okay, very good. Rest of you, questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, what is that sutta?
Sutta, where are you referring to?
See,
The last.
in verse 26, King Prthu continued, my dear devotees, headed by the sutta, just now I am not very famous for my personal activities because I have not done anything praiseworthy. Would you elaborate what is the meaning of by the sutta, means sutra or formula, or what is it actually?
So, this is referring to the set of devotees. So, one was bards, and he's just referring to the set of devotees who are praising him. I don't think it doesn't clarify anywhere here. I don't think it refers to Sutta as Sutta Goswami because the S is not capital. If it was Sutta Goswami, then the S would have been referred to as capital as his name. So it's just referring to these set of devotees who are of a particular tribe. That's what it's referring to.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
All right. So we have completed chapter 15, and similarly, chapter 16 is also very short and very straightforward. It's just a continuation of chapter 15. So chapter 16 is titled Praise of King Prthu by the Professional Reciters, is divided into two parts. Part 1 is verses 1 to 3. The bards glorify Prthu Maharaj. And part 2 is verses 4 to 21. King Prthu manifests the qualities of demigods. So even after the gentle chastisement by Prthu Maharaj, that Prthu Maharaj asked the bards and all these other devotees to stop praising him, the bards actually continued to praise Prthu Maharaj. Because from the instruction of sages, the bards recognized that Prthu Maharaj is expansion of the Supreme Lord, and the bards were pleased by the humility of Prthu Maharaj. Shalini, verse 1, translation and purport.
Text 1. The great sage Maitreya continued, while King Prthu thus spoke, the humility of his nectarian speeches pleased the reciters very much. Then again they continued to praise the king highly with exalted prayers, as they had been instructed by the great sages. Purport. Here the word Muni Kodita indicates instructions received from great sages and saintly persons. Although Maharaja Prthu was simply enthroned on the royal seat and was not at that time exhibiting his godly prayers, the reciters like the Sutta, the Magadha, and the Vandi understood that King Prthu was an incarnation of God. They could understand this by the instructions given by the great sages and learned Brahmanas. We have to understand the incarnations of God by the instructions of authorized persons. We cannot manufacture a God by our own concoctions. As stated by Narottam Das Thakura, Sadhu Shastra Guru. One has to test all spiritual matters according to the instructions of saintly persons, scriptures, and the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the one who follows the instructions of his predecessors, namely the sadhus or saintly persons. A bona fide spiritual master does not mention anything not mentioned in the authorized scriptures. Ordinary people have to follow the instructions of sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. Those statements made in the Shastras and those made by the bona fide sadhu or guru cannot differ from one another. Reciters like the Sutta and the Magadha were confidentially aware that King Prthu was an incarnation of the personality of Godhead. Although the king denied such praise because he was not at that time exhibiting his godly qualities, the reciters did not stop praising him. Rather, they were very pleased with the king, who, although actually an incarnation of God, was so humble and delightful in his dealings with devotees. In this connection, we may note that previously, in 4.15.21, it was mentioned that King Prthu was smiling and was in a pleasant mood while speaking to the reciters. Thus, we have to learn from the Lord or his incarnation how to become gentle and humble. The king's behavior was very pleasing to the reciters, and consequently, the reciters continued their praise and even foretold the king's future activities as they had been instructed by the sadhus and sages. Hare Krishna.
So, Uncle's inquiry about Sutta gets clarified here that the reciters like the Sutta, the Magadha, the Bards, etc. So these are different tribes of people who are praising the Lord. They are not one or two, they are a group of people, they are tribes of people present at that time praising the Lord. So Prabhupada explains that in the purport that we have to understand the incarnations of God by the instructions of authorized persons. We cannot manufacture a God by our own concoctions. Ordinary people have to follow the instructions of Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. And the statements in the scriptures and made by bona fide Sadhu or Guru, they cannot differ from one another. Spiritual master is one who follows the instructions of his predecessors. And the bona fide spiritual master does not mention anything which is not mentioned in the authorized scriptures. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Just one thing to add here. So that's how, I mean, in ISKCON, anywhere in the world, everybody is following the same, and the same message is being conveyed by everybody, Prabhu. This is one realization.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. The processes are largely similar. The messages are same. When I say processes are similar, meaning, say we have Sunday feast, and Nepal has Saturday as the weekly day off. So they have Saturday feast. So it's the weekly program is identical. It's just happening on the day which is convenient, or the day that is off. So minor tweaks according to time, place, and circumstances, but otherwise largely all over ISKCON, all over the world, are identical. Very good observation. So Shalini has traveled to many places around the world, and wherever she travels to ISKCON, so she is observing and sharing with us. So very good observation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, even some of the, Prabhu's lecture, when I hear also, the sequence of explanation with the, suppose the Narasimhadev's story, I heard from the Sunday feast with the different Prabhujis, the sequence, everything is the same Prabhuji.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. Because they are repeating from the scriptures, right?
Yes, yeah.
It's not that one speaker is using one set of scripture and other speaker is using other set of scripture. No, the scriptures are identical. So obviously, whatever they are speaking will be identical. They are just speaking in their own words. It's not that they will be word for word identical, but essentially the point will be identical, just in
Yes.
their own words.
Yes, Prabhuji. The style is, different, but as you said, the point is exactly the same. That's why you feel like listening more and more with others, Prabhus.
Okay, very good. Very
It
good.
becomes a revision, reinforcement.
Yeah, you are correct. Very good. Very good observations and very good attitude of wanting to hear more and more. Mother Jija, verse 2, translation and purport.
Text 2. Translation. The reciters continued, Dear King, you are a direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Vishnu and his causeless mercy, you have descended on this earth. Therefore, it is not possible for us to actually glorify your exalted activities. Although you have appeared through the body of King Vena, even great orators and speakers like Lord Brahma and other demigods cannot exactly describe the glorious activities of your lordship. Purport. In this verse, the words Maya means by your causeless mercy. The Mayavadi philosopher explained the word Maya as meaning illusion or falseness. However, there is another meaning of Maya, that is causeless mercy. There are two kinds of Maya, Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Mahamaya is an expansion of Yoga Maya, and both these Mayas are different expressions of the Lord's internal potencies. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord appears through his internal potencies, Atma Mayaya. We should therefore reject the Mayavadi explanation that the Lord appears in a body given by the external potency, the material energy. The Lord and his incarnations are fully independent and can appear anywhere and everywhere by virtue of the internal potency. Although born out of the so-called dead body of King Vena, King Prthu was still an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the Lord's internal potency. The Lord can appear in any family. Sometimes he appears as a fish incarnation, Matsya Avatara, or a boar incarnation, Varaha Avatara. Thus, the Lord is completely free and independent in to appear anywhere and everywhere by his eternal potency. It is stated that Ananta, an incarnation of the Lord who had unlimited mouths, cannot reach the end of his glorification of the Lord. Although Ananta has been describing the Lord since time immemorial. So, what to speak of demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and others? It is said that the Lord is Shiva Virinchi Muttam, always worshipped by demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. If the demigods cannot find adequate language to express the glories of the Lord, then what to speak of others? Consequently, reciters like the Suta and Magadha felt inadequate to speak about Lord Prthu. By glorifying the Lord with exalted verses, one becomes purified. Although we are unable to offer prayers to the Lord in an adequate fashion, our duty is to make the attempt in order to purify ourselves. It is not that we should stop our glorification because demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot adequately glorify the Lord. Rather, as stated by Prahlada Maharaj, everyone should glorify the Lord according to his own ability. If we are serious and sincere devotees, the Lord will give us the intelligence to offer prayers properly. Hare Krishna.
So the word Atma Mayaya is explained in relation to Lord's appearance. So the word Mayaya means by your causeless mercy. Mayavadi philosophers explain the word Maya as illusion or false. In reality, there are two kinds of Maya, Yog Maya and Mahamaya. Mahamaya is expansion of Yog Maya. And both these Mayas are different expressions of Lord's internal potencies. So Lord appears through his internal potency. This is Atma Mayaya. And therefore we should reject the Mayavad explanation that the Lord appears in a body given by the external material energy. No, that is not correct. The Lord and his incarnations are fully independent and they can appear anywhere and everywhere by virtue of the internal potency. And this is very evident that how Prthu Maharaj, an incarnation of the Lord, has appeared from the dead body of King Vena. The Lord can appear in any family. Sometimes he appears as a fish incarnation or a boar incarnation. All these points are meant to explain that the Lord is completely free and independent to appear anywhere and everywhere by his internal potency. And that's what is explained with the words Atma Mayaya in relation to Lord's appearance, that Lord can appear any way he likes because he is completely free and completely independent. Questions, comments, realizations? Chandan Prabhu, verse 3, translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 3. Although we are unable to glorify you adequately, we nonetheless have a transcendental taste for glorifying your activities. We shall try to glorify you according to the instructions received from authoritative sages and scholars. Whatever we speak, however, is always inadequate and very insignificant. Dear King, because you are a direct incarnation of this Supreme Personality of Godhead, all your activities are liberal and ever laudable. Purport. However, expert one may be, he can never describe the glories of the Lord adequately. Nonetheless, those engaged in glorifying the activities of the Lord should try to do so as far as possible. So, such an attempt will please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya was advised all his followers to go everywhere and preach the message of Lord Krishna. Since this message is essentially Bhagavad Gita, the preacher's duty is to study Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's understood by disciplic succession and explained by great sages and learned devotees. One should speak to the general populace in accordance with one's predecessors, sadhu, guru, and shastras. This simple process is the easiest method by which one can glorify the Lord. Devotional service, however, is the real method, for by devotional service one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead with just a few words. Without devotional service, volumes of books cannot satisfy the Lord. Even though preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement may be unable to describe the glories of the Lord, they can nonetheless go everywhere and request people to chant Hare Krishna.
So the bards and all the other devotees, they say that even if our words of glorification are not able to glorify you, to the fullest, we will still glorify you, O my Lord. And we have discussed this same point in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, that our words are not capable to glorify the Lord to the fullest. But we should still glorify, because that glorification helps us to get purified as well. Now part 2 is verses 4 to 21. Title is Prthu Maharaj manifests the qualities of demigods. So Prthu Maharaj will be upholder of dharma and will act like different demigods. So all these verses are very straightforward. We'll read a couple of verses at a time. So verse 4, 5 are straightforward, and then from verse 6 to 14, they compare Prthu Maharaj's functioning to how the various demigods function. Just to emphasize that Prthu Maharaj has manifested the qualities of the various demigods. Sridhar Prabhu, verse 4, 5, and 6, 7. Translations
Hare,
only.
Hare Krishna. Text 4. This king, Maharaj Prthu, is the best amongst those who are following religious principles. As such, he will engage everyone in the pursuit of religious principles and give those principles all protection. He will also be a great chastiser to the irreligious and atheistic. Text 5. Translation. This king alone, in his own body, will be able to, in due course of time, to maintain all living entities and keep them in pleasant condition by manifesting himself as different demigods to perform various departmental activities. Thus, he will maintain the upper planetary system by inducing the populace to perform Vedic sacrifices. In due course of time, he will also maintain this earthly planet by discharging proper rainfall. Text 6 translation. This King Prthu will be as powerful as the sun god, and just as the sun god equally distributes his sunshine to everyone, King Prthu will distribute his mercy equally. Similarly, just as the sun god evaporates water from 8 months and during the rainy season returns it profusely, this king will also exact taxes from the citizens and return these monies in times of need. Text 7. This King Prthu will be very, very kind to all citizens. Even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations, the king, out of his causeless mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving. As a protector of the world, he will be as tolerant as the earth itself. Text
All
8.
right. So verse 4 first talked about that King Prthu will be upholder of dharma. And from verse 6 onwards are the various qualities. So 6 talked about the demigod Surya, how he evaporates water and gives us rain. So similarly, Prthu Maharaj will exact taxes and release the money in times of need, and then how Bhumi Devi is tolerant. And similarly, Prthu Maharaj will be very forgetful and forgiving, even to persons who trample over his head. And this comparison with demigods will continue up to verse number 14. Uncle will read verse 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, 13, 14. Translations only.
Hare Krishna. Text 8. Translation. When there is no rainfall and the citizens are in great danger due to the scarcity of water, this royal personality of Godhead will be able to supply rains exactly like the heavenly King Indra. Thus, he will very easily be able to protect the citizens from drought. Text 9. The King Prthu Maharaja, by virtue of his affectionate glances and beautiful moon-like face, which is always smiling with great affection for the citizens, will enhance everyone's peaceful life. Text 10. The reciters continued. No one will be able to understand the policies of the king will follow. His activities will also be very confidential. And it will not be possible for anyone to know how he will make every activity successful. His treasury will always remain unknown to everyone. He will be the reservoir of unlimited glories and good qualities, and his position will be maintained and covered just as Varuna, the deity of the seas, is covered all around by water. Text 11. King Prthu was born of the dead body of the king Vina, as fire is produced from irony wood. Thus, King Prthu will always remain just like fire, and his enemies will not be able to approach him. Indeed, he will be unbearable to his enemies, for although staying very near him, they will never be able to approach him, but will have to remain as if far away, as if far away. No one will be able to overcome the strength of King Prthu. Text 12. King Prthu will be able to see all the internal and external activities of every one of his citizens. Still, no one will be able to know his system of espionage, and he himself will remain neutral regarding all matters of glorification or vilification. Patrician. He will be exactly like air, the life force within the body, which is exhibited internally and externally, but is always neutral to all of us. Text 13. Since the king will always remain on the path of piety, he will be neutral to both his son and the son of his enemy. If the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if his own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. Text 14. Just as the sun god expands by its shining rays up to the Arctic region without impedance, the influence of King Prthu will cover all tracts of land up to Arctic region and will remain undisturbed as long as he lives. Hare Krishna.
All right, so I will explain the key points from all these verses about the comparison. So verse 8 said Indra supplies rain. So Prthu Maharaj being a Shakti Avesha avatar, he will also be able to supply rain and protect the citizens from drought. Then 9 said about Chandra that the moon god pleases the world with his cooling rays. Similarly, Prthu Maharaj will please the world with his affectionate glance and charming smiles. 10 said about Varuna and he is glorious. So similarly, Prthu Maharaj will keep his policies, activities, and methods of success. Then Vishnu is also glorious, and at that same point will continue. For Prthu Maharaj, that he will have greatness and qualities of chief influence like Vishnu. Verse 11 talked about Agni, that Agni is very powerful. And similarly, Prthu Maharaj will be very powerful and unapproachable and unbearable to his enemies. Verse 12 talked about Vayu, that Vayu is all pervading. And for Prthu Maharaj, that is all his actions for all beings internally and externally will be all pervading, as well as he is neutral to the praise and blasphemy, just as Vayu is neutral. Verse 13 talked about Dharma, that he is situated in Dharma, being Dharma is impartial. And Prthu Maharaj will be neutral to either his own son, that he will punish his son if he is misbehaving, or release the innocent son of another person. And verse 14 talks about sun, that sun and sunshine are never separated. Similarly, Prthu Maharaj will be never separate, have no separation in terms of his influence all over the world. Questions, comments, realizations? So verses 15 to 19 are also straightforward, where they describe the qualities of Prthu Maharaj. We'll read all these verses separately, straightforward. Mother Chandra Aunty, 15 to 19 translations.
Hare Krishna, text 15. This king will please everyone by his practical activities, and all of his citizens will remain very satisfied. Because of this, that citizen will take great satisfaction in accepting him as their ruling king. 16. The king will be firmly determined and always situated in truth. He will be a lover of the Brahminical culture and will render all service to old men and give shelter to all surrendered souls. Giving respect to all, he will always be merciful to the poor and innocent. 17. The king will respect all women as if they were his own mother, and he will treat his own wife as the other half of his body. He will be just like an affectionate father to his citizens, and he will treat himself as the most obedient servant of the devotees who always preach the glories of the Lord. 18. The king will consider all embodied living entities as dear as his own self, and he will always be increasing the pleasure of his friends. He will intimately associate with the liberated persons, and he will be a chastising hand to all impious persons. 19. This king is the master of the three worlds, and he is directly empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is without change, and he is an incarnation of the Supreme known as the Satya Visa Avatara. Being a liberated soul and completely learned, he sees all material varieties as meaningless because their basic principles is neuroscience. Hare Krishna.
All right, so pretty straightforward verses about the qualities of Prthu Maharaj. And similarly, verses 20 to 27 describe the prediction of future activities of Prthu Maharaj. That Prthu Maharaj will travel, he will milk Mother Earth, he will terrify the thieves, he will do sacrifices, he will meet the Kumaras, his fame will be widespread and will be glorified by all. So again, straightforward verses. Shalini, 20 to 27 translations only, faster pace. Let's finish quickly.
Hare Krishna, text 20. The king, being uniquely powerful and heroic, will have no competitor. He will travel around the globe on his victorious chariot, holding his invincible bow in his hand and appearing exactly like the sun, which rotates on its own orbit from the south. Text 21. When the king travels all over the world, other kings as well as the demigods will offer him all kinds of presentations. The queens will also consider him the original king, who carries in his hands the emblems of club and disc, and will sing of his fame, or will be as reputable, for he will be as reputable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 22. The king, this protector of the citizens, is an extraordinary king and is equal to the Prajapati demigods. For the living facility of all citizens, he will milk the earth, which is like a cow. Not only that, but he will level the surface of the earth with the pointed ends of his bow, breaking all the hills exactly like as King Indra, the heavenly king, breaks mountains with his powerful thunderbolt. Text 23. When the lion travels in the forest with his tail turned upward, the menial animals hide themselves. Similarly, when King Prthu will travel over his kingdom and vibrate the string of his bow, which is made of horns of goats and bull, and is irresistible in battle, all demoniac rogues and thieves will hide themselves in all directions. Text 24. At the source of the river Saraswati, this king will perform 100 sacrifices known as Ashwamedha. In the course of the last sacrifice, the heavenly king Indra will steal the sacrificial horse. Text 25. This king Prthu will meet Sanat Kumara, one of the 4 Kumaras, in the garden of his palace compound. The king will worship him with devotion and will be fortunate to receive instructions by which one can enjoy transcendental bliss. Text 26. In this way, when the chivalrous activities of King Prthu come to be known to the people in general, King Prthu will always hear about himself in his uniquely powerful activities. Text 27. No one will be able to disobey the orders of Prthu Maharaj. After conquering the world, he will completely eradicate the threefold miseries of the citizens. Then he will be recognized all over the world. At that time, both the Suras and the Asuras will undoubtedly glorify his magnanimous activities. Hare Krishna.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 15th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Prathu's Appearance and Coronation, as well as 4th canto, chapter 16, titled Praise of King Prathu by the professional reciters. Let me give you spiritual endeavor. Question number 1. What did Prthu Maharaj's unwillingness to accept praise indicate? Comes from chapter 15, verses 22 to 24. Question 2. Explain the meaning of Atma Mayaya in relation to the Lord's appearance. Comes from chapter 16.2. And third, for next class, read Canto 4, chapter 17. We are just past 9:15 a.m. Toronto time. Any questions, comments, realizations? All right, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.